Naomi decided to not just proceed with caution, but proceed to the championship and is the new WWE Women's World Champion. There's so much to talk about. The weekend was crazy. We're going to try and talk about as much as we can. This is Wrestle. Yo, this is WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate. They might as well call me the Oracle. I am that guy. No, I'm not. But I am joined by the man who is the Oracle. Say his name, he shall appear. It is Gerard Bonner. And of course, the man known simply as Mex or the WrestleManiac, if you will. Yeah. Of course,
yeah, okay.
It is. We're not eating anymore. We're not eating. We've gone past that stage. We had one of the craziest weekends of pay-per-views, PLEs, special events, whatever you want to call them, from Ring of Honor, from WWE, from AEW, NXT, if you want to be very specific. So much happened. We're going to try and get into as much of it as we can, but I think for us, the biggest, not even just for us, but the biggest shocker of the weekend, of course, was that cash in from Naomi. Gerard, I'm going to come to you first because I know you were there in the flesh, in person, in your home state of Atlanta. Tell us what the reaction was. We've seen so many online, but tell us what your reaction was when you heard Naomi's music play at that moment during the main event.
It was pure shock and awe. I mean, I got to shout out the Atlanta crowd. I mean, from the opening bell, it was a very special night. The crowd was amazing. I hope it translated on TV because the energy in there was insane. I mean, we had 3 "This is awesome" chants in the first match. Like, it was incredible. So by the time we got to this world title match, the energy was still palpable. I happened to have been, funny story, I happened to have been sitting right in the area where when Io and Rhea came to the outside of the ring and Io is jumping off of the crate, I'm literally like right over there. So I'm like, okay, this is nuts. And we didn't know what else to expect. We saw, some folks kind of preparing for something that was going to happen back there. We thought it was a run-in of some sort, but it was that. And so it was like, okay, cool. So nobody saw the cash in coming. And we went crazy. It was really incredible for a few reasons. For one, I had gone to the WWE store that was adjacent to State Farm, and I went specifically looking for Naomi gear. And there was Bianca gear, there was Jade gear, there was no Naomi gear at all. Apparently, she had gone the day before. I asked one of the attendants there, and she was like, "Oh no, Naomi came in here the day before and cut up." And I saw that video later. So then I thought, well, surely they'll have some at the arena. None. No Naomi gear anywhere. Yet people were decked out in Naomi gear everywhere. So it's clear that Atlanta loves her, the WWE universe loves her, and the moment nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw it coming. So we went up. I mean, it may as well have been Easter service on a Sunday morning. It was crazy. Do you hear me? The people went up. It was amazing. And I mean, we were all excited. And to me, it's the definition of what a cash-in is supposed to be. You're not supposed to see it coming. This whole time, we had been talking about SummerSlam. We figured, oh, okay, Jade will win. She'll cash in on Jade. So this was just done perfectly. It was done perfectly. And to me, and I'm sure we'll get to it, it made the last year and a half worth it.
Mex, I've already seen you, do your hot takes and on your stories on Instagram talking, and of course you've mentioned how, and others have mentioned how Evolution was, the best show WWE have done, not just this weekend but possibly this year.
Mhm.
How much do you attribute that moment to Evolution being the biggest, or the best show of the year?
I mean, the moment was fantastic. And we all know that Triple H, WWE, they love a moment. But I think so much had happened on that card before we even got there. I mean, that main event in itself was excellent.
Yeah.
Like, that excellent main event. Like, Io Sky and Rhea Ripley have found themselves as, like, what do they call it? Like, soul partners for, like, wrestling now at this point. So you get a cash in the manner that you did, like Gerard said. I don't believe there is a man or woman on God's green earth that said that she would cash in for the other title. She said herself it was Tiffany. They were maybe throwing us off the scent. Maybe Tiffany was the plan, and they've had to change course because what I heard when Liv Morgan got injured, a lot of things for Evolution got thrown out, and they kind of started again, sort of thing. Who knows if this was actually the long-term plan, but whether it was or wasn't, it was a bloody brilliant plan, and the way they executed it was absolutely first class. But these women were giving nothing coming into this show. Literally, they were giving an arena, a name of a show, Evolution 2, and like, all right, stories are doing, pull this and that together. There you go. And we do. They'll give you vignettes. And if you're just watching it for the first time in ages, it looks like, oh, look how well cultivated this show is and everything.
Yeah,
like the night, you could never tell that this show had been thrown together in 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks being what, 4 shows basically. NXT stood up, and like to see. I think on the feed they cut it when you're watching, because they do like. I can't remember who entered first, maybe Nikki Bella, but for the Battle Royal I'm talking about. Then the NXT seemingly came in during what I assume was an ad break, but because of Netflix or whatever, I got to see it.
Yes, same.
And it all kind of came in one after another, Lash, Jada, Lola Vice, all of them. And I was just thinking, this is brilliant for them. And the crowd ate up Jada Parker, ate her up. Lash Legend as well, being a hometown girl. Like, I just thought it was excellent for them, and Lash got an excellent showing. But yeah, just back to that Naomi moment. No one saw it coming. I even love the fact she came down with her nose still like bandaged up, still blood on the nose. Like, it increased the level of tapped and mentally unstable that she looked, that she was still coming down. And for WWE to let her come down with blood on her face as well. Like, that's something that they immediately, get cleaned up and all that kind of stuff. It just added to it. Like, it was just a great moment. And I know she was very emotional when she won the Money in the Bank, because that almost, especially for the women, it kind of says you're next sort of thing. This was just pure in character villain laughing, like, I told you, I've got you all sort of thing. I'm not, I'm not gonna get emotional right now anyway in front of you. To the fact of her promo on Monday Night Raw, I just thought this was excellent. The woman put on an excellent show after being given next to nothing.
And the show was phenomenal. And I think this moment just added to it. It's crazy. We've been saying on the show, even before Naomi won Money in the Bank, we were predicting her winning the Money in the Bank, then what we were expecting to happen for SummerSlam. And I can't think of any single person, not even someone predicting on X, that Naomi was going to cash in this match on these two women, have anything to do with this. We saw Bianca inserted as a referee in the No Holds Barred match, and all of these things. But then to see Naomi come back out and do what she did, and everything else that she's done following that, the post interviews, whether that be on the post show, whether that be the press conference, whether it be stuff that she said online since, all of those things have added to everything that she's been doing since this heel turn, since this character change. and it's perfect. It fits so perfectly, even more so to even what we thought was the ideal way for her to cash in, for the story to carry on, all that kind of stuff. This is so much better. What I love about this even more, though, is the fact, I think, Max, you mentioned it, is that this is possible. This has possibly happened due to Liv Morgan's injury. Now, is there any way? Is there any way that that's a negative? So, for example, obviously, if Liv was still around, Liv would have done whatever Liv did. We probably wouldn't have had this cash in on EO in the Rhea match. Do you think that there's any negative to that at all, or is it just kind of worked out perfectly, Gerard?
Well, it seemed as though things are being set up for Liv and Nikki Bella.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how that would have impacted the world championship picture. But with that said, I don't see a single negative in this at all. I mean, Liv's story right now is happening with all that's going on in the Judgment Day. You know, her leaving, and all of a sudden, all of Judgment Day has gold. Roxanne's in, has taken her place, all of those things. That story is writing itself. You know, Nikki Bella has found a program with Chelsea Green. And I think for Naomi, where so much of this makes sense is, you know, Naomi loses the match against Jade, which it was kind of a catch-22, the Queen of the Ring against Miss Money in the Bank. Like, somebody had to lose. But it all worked out, I think, in the end. So you somewhat, and I say somewhat, have an end to the Naomi Jade feud. I think it's just a pause. You put Naomi now on a completely different show where these two women don't have to interact. We'll get to our SummerSlam paper or previews at some point, but I think we've got a world where Naomi and Jade are world champions. And, you know, so all of this is a win. You get some new matches now with Naomi and Io and Rhea. So it's a win. It adds a fresh dose and an injection over into the Raw Women's division, which I think has needed some just something fresh and something new. So you got all kinds of possibilities, the potential of Stephanie McCour in Paris taking on one of these three women. I think it's a good thing. I don't know what this does in terms of a lengthy title reign for Naomi. I think after some of the things we saw at Evolution, she could shock the world by coming out of both SummerSlam and Paris as still the world champion. I think that's a very realistic possibility. So I don't see any negative or downside to what happened Sunday night at Evolution.
You mentioned, of course, we now already know from what happened on Raw last night. We've got the triple threat match with Naomi defending against Io and Rhea. It's already been set as well for Tiffanny versus Jade at SummerSlam. There's a world where Jade and Naomi could both be holding women's championships. Mm-hmm. Going back to their no holds barred match, we saw Bianca inserted into this match as a guest referee. I don't want to bring too many negatives to this show today because it's great, but I'm going to say this. I didn't see a point.
I agree.
In Bianca being there. The only part of it for me where I saw a little bit of intrigue or had a little bit of intrigue was the face that she made when raising Jade's hand. Kind of, you know, a little bit ashamed to look at her, didn't want to look at her and all that kind of stuff. And there may be something that comes out of that in the near future. But at the same time, for me, on a whole, you could have taken Bianca out of that whole situation and it would have made any little bit of difference to the match, to the show, to the story, to any of it. Max, you said you agree. Why do you agree? Like, why do you think she was added there?
I think they added her because obviously she's an integral part of the story, without doubt. But I think she was harmless. I don't think she was bad or anything. I just think that she didn't really add anything. Like to be a special guest referee is almost like you're gonna get caught up. You're gonna have times when it's like you're gonna take a side or whatever the case is. There's usually certain beats when you're a special guest referee that you conduct, or you see that conflict, or maybe not conflict at all. It might just be a complete setup for long parts in this. I think we had spoken about this maybe last time I was on the show, that, you know, what if she is on Naomi's side? She is almost Naomi's hired gun, and she's there, takes out Jade, and it's like this alliance. And then imagine we saw that same alliance go into the main event where Bianca has already in a way screwed Rhea out of her title back in March, and then Naomi cashed in. It's something that we saw throughout the night, sort of thing. So this is where my mind was going when she was made special guest referee. Like, there must be a reason, sort of thing. Now, the only real thing, like you mentioned, was her kind of showing her dismay of, you know, we've all got to a point of where we're fighting each other in a no holds barred match, when she was lifting Jade's hand, and her that look her and Jade exchanged when she was holding Jade's arm aloft, I think was brilliant. It was a real nice kind of piece of how did we get here, sort of thing, which I thought was good. If that's what she was brought in to do, then fair play. But yeah, throughout the match, yeah, I didn't really see a need for a special guest referee, let alone Bianca to be that special guest referee.
It's interesting because I'm now feeling like I need to go back and watch to see what you guys saw, because I don't know when the cameras went off. What I can tell you is after she looked at Jade like that, she had a lot of concern for Naomi, a ton of concern for Naomi. Like she went over she went over to Naomi, even when the lights were down. She's over with Naomi, making sure Naomi's okay, because they were having a hard time getting her out. And so for me, it showed a very divided heart. And at the same time, while divided, she seemed to have spent more time looking out for Naomi. There were moments in the match where she's trying to protect Naomi and just like, please don't do this, et cetera, et cetera. Not so much for Jade. I think these are small things that are going to be used later on by the time we get to, I don't know, Survivor Series, Rumble, or even Mania. I think these small little pieces are going to show up to tell a larger story. I think she was there for a couple of reasons. Of course, she's integral to the story. I think you don't have an Evolution event without Bianca on there somewhere. So I think she was brought in for that. As a special guest referee during a no holds barred match, in theory, all you're there to do is count the 1, 2, 3, or see if there's a submission of some sort. So I think her hands might have been tied a little bit there, but I think her presence alone was enough tension to see, okay, well, what is she going to do? Even her not doing anything overt is still like, okay, just the idea of there being tension there is a cool scenario, because we don't know where Bianca stands. We still don't know where Jade and Bianca are. And we don't know if Bianca still has a soft spot for Naomi, because Naomi still hasn't done anything to Bianca. So this is all, it's still an active story.
Yeah.
I think where this gets interesting is post SummerSlam. If we have a SummerSlam where Jade and Naomi both walk out with championship gold, we've got a picture we've never seen before.
Right.
Bianca with no titles, yet Jade and Naomi both with championships. Where does that put Bianca? And that might be the seed that we started to see going into WrestleMania, this edge that Bianca had, almost getting a bit unhinged. Now we could possibly see a jealous side of her come out saying, wait a minute, I'm the best. I'm the EST of the big three. How is it that I don't have gold and you two do? And we start to see what could come from that. So I think we're still very much in the story. And I think what happened Sunday night with Bianca is a part of the story that we'll reference at some point.
I believe there is going to be, every little thing that we see and have seen will make sense at some point. I think for me, I guess it would have made more sense for Bianca to just come out, not necessarily tell us who she's siding with or whatever it is, but then add some kind of complexity to whether Jade does some, was about to do something to Naomi or vice versa, and then they kind of think twice maybe because Bianca's out there or whatever else. I think the guest referee thing kind of had us wanting more from Bianca, and because there wasn't much more from her, as I said, it kind of just felt like you could have taken her out and we still would have had the exact same match that we ended up having, and the result and everything and all the little details that did happen as well in the match. Going back to Naomi, the level of support and praise and all the rest of it from not just fans but also co-workers, the likes of Charlotte Flair, Gail Kim, and so many of us, we're very public about the, celebrating Naomi and Naomi's win. We've talked about it so many times. From the second she came back into the WWE, we were asking the question, so why did she? The question has been answered, but I think the thing that I wanted to get at is more so the story of Naomi from when her and Sasha decided to leave the WWE and say, we're betting on ourselves, this is what we're doing, and all the rest of it. Mex, how important is this win to that decision? What, almost, was it 4 years ago?
3 years ago, 2020.
3 years ago. 3 years ago. How important is this now to that decision 3 years ago?
Yeah, it definitely justifies it. We've all were quite frustrated that she went to TNA. There wasn't really much of a change in character. She came back to the company, and initially there wasn't really much of a change in character. But the glow was something that the fans always bought into and, enjoyed and stuff like that. And we have to remember, because I don't want anyone to think otherwise, like we're trying to change the narrative. She was a 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion beforehand. But it's one of those things for me, how I always see it, like the fans pushed her into that position, which is incredible. But it's not the same as having the trust of the office, because we already know fans are fickle. If the fans won't start making noise for you, then you're probably not going to get much of anything. She is pretty much from the same class of a Natalya who we see doing excellent things outside of WWE right now. But inside of WWE, Natalya has the trust of the office, I think, to a degree of, we trust you to look after and coach people and that kind of stuff. But the fans aren't necessarily cheering for Natalya or we want Natalya or anything like that. So Natalya gets nothing. Natalya doesn't get fed. She's now got the trust of the office. Even through the Money in the Bank situation, like I said, it's almost like an anointing of you're next. And if someone, it may have not have been the plan that this was the route to win the women's world title, but if someone goes down and we need to alter things, you're there, you're ready and waiting, sort of thing. One of the biggest reasons I think that they've made her win this particular title is because Liv is probably the top heel woman on Raw when she was around. And with Liv gone, it's like we need a top heel over there. So, Naomi is here to kind of fill that position. And I think that's what people always forget, that wrestling is about characters and positions and, what can you bring to this show, sort of thing. Everyone here can wrestle. So what can you bring? So them leaving, coming back, going on that particular journey, almost showing that I do not need you to succeed, sort of thing. Like, I know I've got the juice. I know I can do this, sort of thing. The character change, more than anything for me at this point, has been what has just made everyone sit up and pay attention. Because we just hadn't seen anything like this. Even before, when she was a heel for a bit in Team Bad with Sasha and stuff, it was a certain type of heel still within, I guess, who she was, but just a bad guy, sort of thing. This is a whole nother level of maniacal villain that she's come to. And you can tell she's just having a good time. Like all the stuff that she did in the WWE shop and stuff over the weekend, the press conference, the little bits on social media. People need to understand how powerful social media is as a tool.
Yes.
Like and how in 2025 it has to be part of your repertoire to brand yourself. You know, Karrion Kross made it to a PLE without having a wrestling match on TV for months. Like because of the power of social media. So yeah, I think it just really puts her on the map. It justifies what those ladies done. Mercedes, obviously, we're going to get to, you know, how great she was over the weekend as well. It's just something that we should have never got to the point of them walking out. I think we have to mention that as well.
For
like
sure.
They definitely need to be doing better with the titles and creative and stuff like that. But it's proven that, you know, these people aren't scared. We have to book people appropriately. People will leave and go elsewhere, sort of thing. There's no such thing as a job for life anymore. So yeah, I just think all of this culminates, and it couldn't have happened to someone, you know, amongst this story of Jade and Bianca as well. Like this is like the elder states lady of this community, the Black community, even women in that wrestling locker room right now. It's her, Natalia. Obviously, Nikki Bella just came back, but like that is their class, you know. That is it couldn't have happened to anyone better. Hence why you see the outpour of emotion from everyone that either watched her on Total Divas, watched her back in those days when she was a Funkadactyl or whatever. Yeah, this she's a 3-time world champion now, but this one just it feels like she's really arrived.
Right.
With that said, how important is the reign now? So how important is the length of the reign? So we already know that she's gonna have a triple threat match at SummerSlam. More than likely, whoever wins that match is facing Stephanie Riquet at Clash in Paris. Gerard, you kind of mentioned it already, but does it have to be a thing where Naomi wins both matches going forward?
This is tough. To a degree, I say yes. And my yes is because it's not just the title reign, but it's also the character as well. So we need to see what Proceed with Caution looks like outside of Jade. And so I think this is the opportunity to do that. You know, I love the fact that she didn't flinch on Raw last night, staring at Io and staring at Rhea. She didn't flinch, because before Evolution ended, I felt some kind of way that she lost to Jade. I'm like, why does she keep getting punked by Jade? I don't like this. This isn't good. By the end of the night, I felt a whole lot better, right? And so this is the opportunity to have a heel title run that is much different than what a Liv Morgan would have done. It's much different than, you know, even a heel Rhea. This is a completely different character arc that we see for any woman in WWE right now. And I think this is amazing. So because of that, I think she finds a way. Now, I'll just say this, and I'm double dipping on this one, but if JC Jane finds a way to get past Jordan Grace, then absolutely Naomi finds a way to win both of these matches coming up at SummerSlam and at Clash in Paris. Stephanie Vacour is going to get her time, and that's fine. You know, I just think that it's going to be sometime after August, because we need to proceed with caution for a while. We got to get her merch in stores. We've got to get her merch in the arena. She's a world champion right now. It shouldn't just be at WWEshop.com. So I think all of those kinds of things still have to happen. I mean, we didn't get the decorated Money in the Bank all that long, right? Her briefcase kind of just turned to caution before it got turned in. So there's a lot of things I think that still needs to happen. And I think this championship run for Naomi is that opportunity. So I think I don't think it needs to be a year long. I wouldn't argue with a year long, but I don't think it needs to be a year long. I mean, if she takes this, this is July. If she takes this to Royal Rumble, I'm not mad. Though I think it'd be right for her to be at Mania as a champion. I think she deserves the opportunity to walk in as the world champion. She's won a title at Mania, but I think it'd be great for her to walk in as the world champion. And maybe that is the triple threat with the big three that happens this time for a championship. But let this cook for a bit. Let this cook.
I think there's what's exciting about Naomi winning this title and moving to Raw is like that new crop of talent on Raw. Like there's a lot of people that she can face that we have not seen her against.
Yeah.
You can bring her into the fold of even the likes of obviously she's had previous with the Baileys and stuff, but like Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, eventually you might get singles matches amongst after this like triple threat thing. Stephanie Vaquer that was mentioned. There's just other like Lyra Valkyria that's getting a lot of airtime right now. Could be good. Like, and I feel like they should use this now to put over. I think the next champion will, if it's not entwined in this Bianca Jade stuff, it will either be Rhea or Stephanie Vaquer.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, let it bubble for a while. Maybe have Rhea have to beat Io to finally feel herself, to feel like she can go after the world champion. Because obviously that still hasn't happened.
True.
Yeah.
Clash in Paris, Naomi should cheat to win. If she needs to, she's a heel, so why not? Cheat to beat Stephanie, get more heat on her because people are gonna want Stephanie to win. Like by the time Stephanie beats her for that title or Rhea, there needs to be an actual roar, like a cry that one of our own has overcome Naomi. So I think they've got a really nice position with a lot of new matchups and the possibility to really build a babyface star here, or get the likes of Rhea that's kind of climbed to that mountain already back involved.
No, for sure. I think that's the most intriguing part is these possible matchups that we've not seen, the feuds, as you mentioned, you Rhea, you Stephanie, Lyra Valkyria, who has been putting on bangers. I mean, the match, the 2 out of 3 with Bailey yesterday on Raw, the triple threat to kick off Evolution, like. I wasn't completely sold on Lyra at first when she first came into the main roster, and even after winning, becoming the first women's intercontinental champion. But these last few weeks, this feud with Becky, she's shown that she belongs up there. The matches that she's had has been brilliant. So to think that there's a possibility of Naomi and Lyra mixing up at some point, whether the title was involved or not by that time, I don't think it matters. The match will be amazing. But just the simple fact of Naomi being in a space now where she gets to do new things with this new character, with this new lease of life, not even just as a heel or as a character, but just in the way that you can see, as we mentioned already, that she's enjoying what she's doing right now. And that's not going to, hopefully that doesn't go anywhere anytime soon. We mentioned, of course, the Evolution Battle Royal, the NXT ladies that were involved. Kalani Jordan was doing Naomi-esque stuff in terms of, cheating the escape and all the rest of it, which was brilliant. Of course, Jada Parker got a very good response. Hometown girl, Lash Legend, got a phenomenal response on her entrance, and of course ended up in the final 2. We've spoken about it so many times in terms of the potential of Lash Legend. Gerard, how important is it for her to get what she got? Do you think it was just a hometown thing, or is it something that we'll see kind of come out over the next few weeks in NXT?
I definitely think it was not a hometown thing. You could make the argument, oh yeah, she's in her hometown, et cetera, but Lash has had the spotlight on her for a minute. I mean, if you think back to, those moments where she showed up on SmackDown and got a win over Piper Niven, when her and Jakara went over to Saudi to fight for the tag titles, the first NXT stars to do that. That was major. She's had the spotlight on her for a little while now. Now that she's not in a tag team space, she gets a chance to really showcase who she is. And to me, I'm not sure which was the bigger moment, her being in the final 2 with Stephanie or her eliminating Nia, showing that she's the best big woman right now. So I love this for her. I think it's just a matter of time before we see her on SmackDown or Raw. But it does make me wonder, and I guess I'll pose the question to you guys. With all that's going on with JC Jane, does Lash Legend need an NXT women's title reign before moving up to the main roster?
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say she needs a woman's title reign, but I definitely think she should win at least a North American title.
Okay.
I think okay, I've been extremely disappointed with how they have booked her or not booked her since the collapse of Metaphor. Right. They brought her out on TV. She's cut a couple of promos here. She's been involved in those segments when all the ladies come out chasing the world title, whatever the case is. And off the back of what we have seen since that collapse of Metaphor till now, I just thought, she's going to be in this battle royal. She's going to be eliminated, etc., etc. I'm not down on Lash, but I'm down on how they've been booking Lash because I know what we've got here.
Yeah.
And for her to be, as it went on, final 6, final 4, final 2, I was like, okay, she's here with Stephanie Vaquer. So let me not get my hopes too high. This is still an exceptional position for her to be in. Because we have to remember we are teaching a main roster audience, a mainstream audience, who this person is, who isn't even on our Raw or SmackDown. She's in NXT, and she's here battling with the beloved Stephanie Vaquer. So I thought it was an excellent position. I thought she was great during the match. I think something she a North American title run akin to what Wesley done. Just carry the belt. Who's the next challenger? Beat this person. Move. Who's next? They've got enough women for her to cycle through. They've got a lot of good ladies that are coming up through Evolve. I think this is where she needs to kind of find herself, get her character over more. And this is the thing. She's obviously previously been a heel in Metaphor. What is she now? Does anyone really know? She hasn't been on TV enough to establish that. So I think she could be a good kind of cocky heel, beating people up and stuff like that. I think the NXT women's title, when Jordynne Grace eventually wins it, I think she could hold it for quite a bit. But if there is anyone to beat Jordynne Grace for that title, Lash Legend is a premier candidate for that. I just need NXT to really, especially from this week on, cash in on her being final 2 in that battle royal and put the rocket on her and let's start doing stuff with her.
And I think that's exactly why I asked the question, because we've seen potential, like Gerard said, this time last year, she was in the Saudi shows and she was on SmackDown and all these kinds of things, and then Metaphor splits up, and then you kind of see her in, the tournaments and the fatal 4-way matches and the triple threat matches and number 1 contenders, this, that, but then nothing really has come of it. So it's kind of okay, when are they actually going to push the button on actually pushing Lash to something significant, more than anything? And that's why I asked the question. The Women's North American Championship was mentioned. It highlights someone else who WWE NXT have put so much trust in over this last week, maybe even a few weeks, but this last week alone, the current North American Women's Champion, Sol Ruka, put on a 3-night showing. The only other person I know that has done that in the women's division is the beloved Stephanie Vaquer.
Exactly.
And look where she is right now. So just, Gerard, talk to me just on all the things that Sol has been doing, because remember as well, not only is she the NXT Women's North American Champion, she's also the WWE Women's Speed Champion. She was, I think the show where she defended her Speed Championship was on Wednesday.
Mhm.
She was on SmackDown on Friday. She did what was it? Great American Bash, defended a North American Championship against Izzy Dame on the Saturday, and then competes in the Women's Tag Team Championship match at Evolution on the Sunday.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, you know, So Ruka is special. She's very, very special. In terms of what's next, I think it's Zarya.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
I think it's Zarya because
It's gotta be.
that spear, I was just like, no, like it's happened. But again, for that to happen on Evolution said a whole lot. It said an awful lot. But I mean, to think she hit a Soul Snatcher on 2 women Friday. She hits it on Izzy Dame Saturday. And let's not lose this piece. She hit the Soul Snatcher on the beloved Charlotte Flair Sunday night. To me, my night was made because that's a massive statement that Charlotte takes it. Oh yeah. We're in a good space. So I think what's next for Soul is Zarya. But I think, again, a lot of eyes got to see Soul this weekend that had not seen her if they hadn't watched the NXT product. And they had to love what they saw with her because she's a special talent. They don't have a bunch of souls in pro wrestling. So I love it for her. But I think Zarya is next. And it wouldn't surprise me, again, you know, to see Soul at some point, Lash at some point, make their way to that beautiful women's roster on Raw or SmackDown because they both have the goods, and to be trusted in the way they have speaks volumes.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I think Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan are in NXT right now solely to work on character-related stuff.
Yeah.
And wait on obviously a viable position on Raw or SmackDown so they don't get lost.
Yeah.
Because those two in particular, they got what is needed. They're far past the minimum requirement for in-ring ability.
For sure.
They have got it. So I think it's just a case of really giving them or helping them develop a strong character as well, so that, you know, and they, like, if you think about who's on the main roster, they are quite unique characters as they are. Like Kalani Jordan, almost like a reborn Rob Van Dam, and you know how she carries herself and stuff. And Sol Ruka, like, we see the athletic ability of someone like a Charlotte, but this one is it's like with more flair. Funny enough,
most definitely.
Fun. But it's just a bit. It's different, but I think both of them probably just still need to find their voice a bit. Kalani has come along probably a lot more than Sol in that respect. Sol obviously was out injured for quite a while. And maybe when the Zarya turn happens, that's when we will kind of see Sol come to life. Almost how like Lyra Valkyria needed Becky Lynch to kind of come to life. So I think it's just a character thing for those two, and they're ready to go.
Mex, we talked about this last week with Obafemi. Obviously retaining his NXT championship against Inamura at Great American Bash. My question to Gerard last week was, you know, with it being Inamura, and no disrespect to the man, he's done great stuff. He you know, won whatever matches he needed to in order to, you know, be deserving of a title shot at least. But I don't think anyone at any point, probably not even Inamura himself, went into that match thinking he was going to beat Obafemi. You know, from me at the minute, it's a highlight of maybe the lack of realistic contenders to Obafemi's NXT championship. His last defense was Jasper Troy, who gave him a great match, but that was his second match on NXT.
Yeah.
The one before, Miles Bourne, who won a battle royal that no one expected Miles Bourne to win. No one expected Miles Bourne to even come close to beating Obafemi. Do you think that is the case in NXT? Are we still struggling to find someone who is a realistic contender to Obafemi's NXT Championship?
100%. I think there are guys that are beginning to, like you're saying, peek their head above the water and kind of put their name in the hat, as it were. Inamura is a real, like, someone that could stand in the ring and believe, okay, this guy could probably do something against Obafemi, and their match was really good.
Really good.
However, obviously he's within a tag team, and I don't think right now would have been the time. We need to kind of get him over with the crowd a bit more. Jasper Troy, very believable, but maybe just too early in terms of debuting and stuff like that. I think, this is what I generally think. The minute you see him booked in a multi-man match, it might be a long day for Obafemi, because then they can just do he doesn't have to be pinned stuff, and someone else can get pinned, and there it's gone. But for a long-term kind of someone that can get the job done, I think we really should be looking at like a Tavion Heights or Miles Bourne, because I like this story of these guys wanting to leave the NCQ. What they call it? NCQQ?
NQCC. Yeah.
RSPCA. I don't know. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Some abbreviation.
Double NCA.
Yeah. I think I like the story of them wanting to leave, and I think if they meet later on down the line, it's like like a number one contenders match, face each other to see who gets the Obafemi, because the crowd are fond of both of those guys, and I feel like both of those guys are really skilled and eventually can be built towards it. But yeah, right now we're just not in the position to kind of say anyone is near what Obafemi gives us.
Do you feel as though there's anyone in TNA currently, not to be built up, but currently, who could possibly be that person?
I respectfully don't believe any man in TNA will be given the opportunity to beat Obafemi. I just don't think. I don't think they want that visual. Like Obafemi losing to one of their own, NXT, one of their own, is one thing. Obafemi losing is going to be a thing, I don't think they're going to give that honor to TNA.
Fair.
Not that anyone couldn't do it. There's definitely names, but I just don't feel like WWE, through everything, they've done some good work with TNA for sure. I think TNA are about to get their lick back in the sense of Marsha Slamovich becoming NXT Women's Champion.
Yep.
But I just don't think they'll give the men's distinguishment to anyone in TNA.
Fair. Gerard, with all that said, who is next for Obafemi right now?
Man, that's a great question. There's a part of me that would love for it to be Ricky Saints. I think he's got the pedigree to make this a very believable kind of situation. There's an argument to be made about Ethan Page, former NXT champion who's got the experience. I think he definitely could be that guy. But I think this does highlight what you were saying in terms of the issues of not having enough prepared men's opponents right now for Oba. And again, it just ebbs and flows. And I think we knew that, but the fact that a tag team match that did not involve a championship main evented the Great American Bash while this NXT championship was on that card spoke volumes to me. Because when they signed that tag match, I didn't think, oh, this is a main event match. Right. I thought the debut of Blake Monroe, okay, that's cool, but not a main event match. And nothing happened after the match that made you go, oh, this is why this was the main event.
Right.
So I think it just spoke to some of the deficiencies that are in the men's division in NXT, and particularly the championship division. So, perhaps we finally go and revisit Javon Evans and give him the moment, since he just got past Jasper Troy. It kind of makes sense that you put him in that particular space. So I think if we're going to pick people, it'd be and of course give Jasper Troy a few more months, I think, and I think we could have a different result. So there are people, but I think some of them need a little bit more seasoning. But right now, Ethan Page is ready. I think Ricky Saints is ready, and I think Javon Evans is ready.
Yeah, I believe it's not necessarily a case of whether there are people, but it's more so how they've been booked over the last few months, whether they've actually prepared people for it, and I think that's where it's lacking. Javon Evans for me is the only person that would make any type of sense if he was to challenge Obafemi tonight, for example, and win. I wouldn't have an issue, but if that was anyone else, no, thank you. It doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. If Ethan Page lost to Ricky Saints, I think Ethan Page would be up there too. But because he's still holding the championship, for me, not just yet. Again, the same reason I'd say with Ricky Saints, because he's lost and so many times. Unfortunately, for me, he doesn't fit the bill as okay. He can be champion tomorrow. But yeah, it's. Again, it's not a case of if there are people, and obviously Trick Williams is doing his thing with the TNA Championship, so he can't necessarily be involved in that either. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here, but I think it definitely centers around Jasper and Javon at the moment to see who challenges Obafemi next. And with that said, I guess Obafemi is going to have the title for another 30 days at least. You know what I mean? So, let it keep going on for a little while. But I just feel as though if we look back at Obafemi's reign as NXT champion and look at the people he's defended against, we're not going to look at it and think, oh my God, this was the most amazing title reign ever. The length will help us, but in terms of opponents, it's not going to really kind of like stand out in that respect. But we'll see what happens from there. Let's turn our attentions away from the WWE. Go for it.
Before we go away from NXT, right? I just want to drop 2 quick mini pipe bombs, right? I've already said my piece on Lash. We mentioned Ricky Starks. I think he is relatively unmotivated. He seems quite unmotivated. He seems like he's just going with the flow. I haven't seen like the Ricky Starks that was on Collision, being booked on Collision. There seemed to be a bit of fire in his belly. I think he's coming to NXT and maybe he's not challenged. I think he needs to go to the main roster and feel, because he is of those guys. You see what I mean? Or maybe he needs the responsibility of being the NXT champion so that he can kind of wake up a bit. One or the other. I just don't feel like he's doing much of anything right now to justify the move to WWE.
Correct.
That's one thing. 2, we're seeing Jasper Troy. Jasper Troy has been on a PLE now, which is fantastic in this development already, albeit a losing attempt. Tyra May still. She popped up on Evolve.
Did she?
After winning LFG and winning an NXT contract.
When?
Like last week.
Last week.
Yeah.
She was on Evolve. And at the time of her winning LFG, they made a reference to this being like now or never. Like she's going to win. She's going to be our winner. It's now or never. Let's see if she can kind of do it. And I remember I came here that following week, and I've said other places as well. I don't want to sound bad, but I think they looked at her age and just thought she's significantly older than a lot of these other ladies in NXT and Evolve. It is now or never. Let's kind of give her the opportunity, sort of thing.
Definitely.
And I hate the fact that is seemingly coming to fruition. Like, why hasn't she been given? And I know the NXT women's division is absolutely stacked, but like Jasper Troy has been thrown straight into it. And this woman, it's not like she's a complete nobody or newbie to this. With an Olympic gold medal that you lot haven't stopped telling us about, that should be enough to kind of anchor her on a position on the show. You know, like I'm not happy with how they've dealt with her. Her turning up on Evolve, I was just like, you made a deal about her winning an NXT contract. What the hell is she doing here? Like, I just think that we need to kind of do something with that immediately before the whole world finds out. Because it's Evolve, I don't think people need to quickly, like, Control Z, undo that, and just like get her back on.
So wait, let me speak to that though. Let me speak to that because I think this actually is the perfect companion to what we just talked about. Availability and need, right? The women's roster is so stacked right now that you have to be exponentially better. In the case of Jasper Troy, and if you'll remember when they talked about the decision for him to be the winner, the question was, who could we put on TV right now? And Undertaker specifically said, this guy will be a great opponent for your champion. And considering it's public knowledge, we don't really have opponents for our champion. You bring in Jasper Troy. And what did you do 2 weeks in? Jasper Troy's fighting your champion. So I think this might be more of a picture of the needs of the business and meeting those needs as opposed to skill set. I think if the women's, and I don't want to sound crazy, but if there were more holes in the women's division, then I think a Tyra May Steele fitting in there as an Olympic gold medalist fits. Right now, if we're completely honest, we have 0 holes in the NXT women's division. 0. And again, proof of it. A tag team match that had nothing to do with a championship main evented a PLE this weekend. And the only thing that you could say to it is, oh, well, it featured the NXT women's champion, her number 1 contender, and the debuting Blake Monroe. That match, honestly, is an NXT weekly match. That is not a PLE main event, and it's no disrespect to the women involved. But it says that there are no holes in the NXT women's division. So I think that's why Tyra May Steele is in Evolve, simply because she has a better chance, for one, of being booked as a top competitor there, since the gold medal means a lot more in an Evolve context where there are holes and there are needs for some more experienced competitors. Now, the challenge is this. You got to deal with Callie Armstrong. And listen, Callie doesn't have an Olympic gold medal, but Callie's got an attitude. Callie's got a look. Callie is aggressive. And, if you think about the run that Tyra May Steele had, there's an argument to be made that perhaps she shouldn't have won LFG. Maybe Xena Sterling should have won. I thought Xena was going to win. LFG. Right. So then the question becomes, and we're extrapolating now, if Xena Sterling wins LFG, I don't think we see Xena Sterling on Evolve.
No.
No.
They find a position for her on NXT.
They absolutely find it. They might put her as the 4th member of Fatal Influence or something. Like they'll find something. You know what I mean? They'll find something for her because she was that ready. And it makes you wonder, did they lean on the gold medalist piece more than all of the other attributes that are needed for a roster that is so stacked that think of, if a gold medal isn't enough to get you on TV, your roster is stacked.
This is true. I mean, there was always this argument of Tyra May getting as far as she did and even winning LFG. Xena was set and ready. But at the same time, I completely agree with what you're saying, Gerard, in terms of the need and the lack of holes in the women's division. Because even for a Xena, where do you throw her in? And it was interesting to see. I completely forget her name, but the new girl that faced JC Jane.
Laney Reed.
That's it.
She just got thrown in.
Yeah.
Who saw her before that week on NXT? Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. So you could have thrown Tyra May in that space. You could have. Xena would have fit in that same space perfectly, as well. So there are ways that it could have happened, but at the same time, what happens after that? Because Lainey Reed, yeah, we've seen her backstage, and she's probably have a bit of a feud with, with a few people and stuff like that. But
Thea.
Yeah, Thea Hale, for example. But then what happens after that? Tyra May on Evolve might be better. It doesn't look great in terms of her winning an NXT contract and then being on Evolve. But when you really think about it, it probably is the best place for her to be. It gives her reps, it gives her time in the ring with other people or the rest of it. Whereas in NXT, she probably would have struggled for TV time, somewhere to put her, all that kind of stuff. So it might be a better thing in that respect. But in terms of just the optics or the fact that she won an NXT contract and then is on Evolve, that doesn't look great. But in reality, it might be the best place for her to be. It's interesting though that when the whole LFG thing, concluded the first season, we were saying that Tyra May still should be thrown in our faces straight away, and Jasper Troy should be the one held back. But we've got it the other way around, and I don't think I'd argue with it, if I'm honest. I think it's worked out the better way with how it is.
But finally, I will just say that I think like she can wrestle, and they knew she could wrestle, and they were always trying to bring something else out of her on the show. I think some way, somehow, between her mentors, her coaches, they need to think about how to make her marketable. Yeah, because I think that is her biggest issue now. That's the issue. Again, I don't want to bring it back to age, but there's a lot of like 20-odd, young 20-year-old girls running in there, and they all may look the same, but it's the marketable look that they all have, I guess. A lot of them, it's off the back of college sports and stuff. But yeah, I think there has to be an angle. Being an Olympic gold medalist clearly isn't enough. So there has to be something else she hangs her hat on to make it back to NXT TV effectively.
Yeah, I think there is definitely some kind of mismatch in terms of her not even her attributes, but her attitude. Maybe even the age has something to do with her being teachable. You know what I mean? And coming from what she's come from, doing it for as long as it is. And it's not because she doesn't want to be taught, but because it's harder to do so. Because that is one of the biggest reasons why they decided to do the whole NIL program and not go for, the big indie talents and all the rest of it, because it was harder for them to mold them into that WWE style. Because they were so used to whatever it was that they were doing on the indies for however many years. So I think that may have something to do as well. But yeah, it's interesting to see how it's worked out. With all that said, I'm not completely surprised. I'm not completely surprised by any of it. I don't think I really expected her to win LFG. And it was difficult to work out where and how they would fit her in that women's division that is just so stacked to the point where the same way we were just talking about Lash Legend, what do we do with her? Jada Parker kind of seems to have dropped back a little bit as well. Kalani Jordan's kind of swimming around, not doing much necessarily. Had a few matches, of course, and challenged for North American Championship, but again, it's neither here nor there whether she won or lost. But that's just not the ability of the person, but how good or how balanced that women's division is. So it's a tough one. We're running out of time, boys. We don't forget All In happened as well. So let's talk about that very, very quickly, as much as we can. The big story, of course, for us is Mercedes Moné not walking away with the AEW Women's Championship. Toni Storm defeated her. A wise man once said, just last week, that there is a world where Toni Storm could beat Mercedes Moné. We are in that world. Gerard, what does it feel like to be in that world?
Well, let's just first say this. An amazing match. Lived up to the billing. I'll go so far as to say this was probably cover to cover the best All In that AEW has presented. It just had a lot of the right things, and for this women's title match to be deemed as one of the 3 main events, it finally felt like that was right. Though personally, I would have put it right before the last match as opposed to the first of the 3. You know, but that's another story for another day. Amazing match. Mercedes Moné. We thought that there would be a world that Toni Storm would win, but we just figured the optics of it all, it just made so much sense. I mean, they made that stadium looked incredible. It looked amazing for AEW. It's hard to argue with the match, though. The match was phenomenal, and it could have gone either way. And the way it ended with the Storm Zero from the top rope, I mean, like, after 3 Storm Zeros, okay, I get it, right? The question ultimately now is, I mean, I think Toni Storm needed the win. Absolutely. It solidifies her as the AEW World Champion. It also puts her in a space where she finally wins at an All In. This now what I said last week, and if they rock with this, they'd be very smart. So AEW, pay attention. Here it is. You build off of this idea that Mercedes cannot win the big one. She's won all these little ancillary titles and all these other places. But when it comes to the big one, the big stadium show, and if I'm Toni Storm, I'm like this. You couldn't win at a WrestleMania. You couldn't win in the Tokyo Dome, and you couldn't win at All In. You always lose the big one. Now we got a story around Mercedes Moné. Now the problem is, when do you crown her? You can't crown her on an episode of Collision. You can't crown her on an episode of Dynamite, though they would try. Like, the unfortunate thing about AEW is they would try to correct it on like Grand Slam New York or something like that. Like, don't do that, right? We got to wait a whole year at this point. We're going to wait till you get back in somebody's stadium, because Mercedes does not deserve to become the AEW World Champion on an episode of Dynamite. Don't do that. But I do think that there's a story to be told. We now get the vulnerable Mercedes Moné, which we have not seen in AEW. How long can they run with this? I don't know. But congratulations to Toni Storm. Massive win for her. Great match with Mercedes. I don't know if it's the right move yet. I still need some time to think about it. But I do think that the match itself justified why Toni won.
I think it was the right move. And like yourself, well, I thought, okay, going into this week, I thought Mercedes had, she's going to win it. I was super busy. Like, over the last 10 days coming into the weekend, I was super busy. So I was even watching wrestling late and all that kind of stuff, just trying to catch things here and there, right? I saw the kerfuffle online about Mercedes and creative control and this, that, and the other. And I thought, in a week where this woman has debunked, or AEW have debunked that she has creative control or anything, is she going to go then and win the title?
That would have been crazy, to be honest. That would have been crazy.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me that thought, right. And this could be me just going extra meta and, thinking for no reason, like it's just wrestling next. But like, I was here thinking her whole mission is to revolutionize wrestling, push women's wrestling, give, new women a chance, give other women a chance. She's just been accused of having creative control and does what she likes and stuff like that. By Friday, I was saying to myself, she's not winning. She's actually not going to win. Like, and even during the match, I'm seeing her kick out of 3 Storm Zeros, and I think, okay, she's won. She's going to win, sort of thing. Like, because who kicks out of 3 power drivers?
Right.
Back to back. Yeah. Like, I said, okay, she's going to win. Like, I bunked my whole theory. But then she done what Mercedes Moné does. Then she done what Sasha Banks does. And she put someone over on the biggest stage. The story of her life. Like, I'm not going to win this one. Let this person. And it's crazy. Like, she's got all the belts in the world anyway, but she doesn't have this one, which Tony Storm always said in the build, which of course makes the AEW Women's Championship feel like a massive accolade anyway. And the roar of the crowd when Tony Storm pinned her 1, 2, 3, it's just like, oh my god, Tony still has it. So Tony Storm, who we've already thought is here, now goes to a whole stratosphere because she's handed Mercedes Moné her first singles loss. She's walked into All In with the championship. She's walked out with the championship. Like, all of a sudden, and I'm not just saying this is all like Mercedes is Jesus Christ. Like, everyone plays their part in this, you know. But like, all of a sudden, she's helped elevate someone who was already a star. You know, just through her own selflessness and putting on a great match. So yeah, like it did. I did wobble, like I said, but it did become glaringly obvious to me before the weekend that she's actually not going to win here. They want us to think that's going to happen, but let's see. Like, will Tony Storm do it? And yeah, like Gerard said, that story of her now getting it done is going to be a great story. Obviously, earlier on the night, which I guess we'll talk about, Athena won the Battle Royal, and then you're probably thinking, Athena, Mercedes, written in the stars, it's going to happen. No, it didn't happen. So that was a little swerve in itself. But yeah, I just think that Mercedes is just a class act. Like, from ring to her, like, knowing her position and knowing, like, what's the word? It's like knowing, it's almost like, and I don't mean to get like super religious with this, it's like when God puts you here to do something, I think she understands her role.
She's ordained. She's ordained.
Yes, that's the word. Like,
ordained.
you know why you are here, sort of thing. You might not be everyone's cup of tea. Maybe not everyone wants to ever see you with the titles and stuff like that. People are already pulling her hair out that she's got so many titles as she has.
Right.
But I'm here to make this space better for everyone else. And she more than often does that on so many occasions, so selflessly, with no fuss. And yeah, it was just another showing of that over the weekend with a great match.
You know, she may not be Jesus Christ, but I would happily call her Mary Magdalene for sure. Because she's just giving birth. She's just given birth to a savior in Tony Storm. You know what I mean? Not Hail Mary, but Hail Monet is definitely a thing I will put on a t-shirt.
Wow.
Sure. Definitely.
Wow.
But you know, I think you're very right in terms of, you know, saying that, you know, she knows her space. She's, you know, we said she's ordained. She knows what's best to do, and it's not about her. And what's interesting is all the other bouts that she has won, she's actually needed to win in order to elevate that promotion, that division, the person she faced, the ladies that she's defended against. But with this one, it's not the same thing. She didn't need to win it. She needed to lose in order to elevate it, which sounds crazy, but that's the truth. That's the way it is.
She needed to win those other titles for us to believe that she was going to win this one as well.
Right. Exactly that. She's gone undefeated for a whole year up until the one time she needed to win. And you know, it's akin to, actually, as Max, as you were talking about all those things, it's very akin to Will Ospreay. In the sense that we thought he was gonna be AEW World Champion by now.
Right.
And even to the point of the second they announced All in Texas, and I think it was the Continental Classic that came later on, he was going to win that and then win the AEW World Championship. Then the Owen Hart Foundation comes up. We thought he was going to win that and then win the AEW. Didn't happen. He's done everything else apart from win the AEW World Championship.
Yeah.
Now his time is coming, and I'm hoping it will happen over time and on all the rest of it. But there were two big events where we expected Will Ospreay to win. The optics was correct. It was All in London first, then All in Texas, because the story kind of, you know, played out nicely. The next big show, or the biggest show in the US for them, and all that kind of stuff. Again, nowhere near any match or whatever else. Yes, he kind of came out but he wasn't involved in the match. He wasn't part of the match in that respect, or had a championship opportunity. So the things that Will Ospreay has done, and people now respecting him for even more so. It's interesting to see whether, and I don't think we probably won't see it straight away, but it's going to be interesting to see whether Mercedes then garners that similar type of respect after not winning the AEW Women's Championship from Toni Storm. It's going to be very interesting. The last thing we've got a little chance to talk about is the next contender, or someone who is in the running, has the opportunity, has the guarantee of a championship match against Toni Storm. Of course, is the forever champion, that is Athena. Came out for the first time in a long time. Me and Gerard have finally predicted something, and we got it right. With Athena coming out in the gauntlet match and coming out as the winner, of course. Gerard, she defended her ROH Women's Championship. I think was it the night before? Is it the night before?
Yes,
yep,
the night before.
Mm-hmm. At Supercard of Honor, of course. Walks into the gauntlet match with the championship, with the ROH Women's Championship, and now has a guaranteed contract to go after the AEW Women's World Championship. How realistic is it that she has that match and comes away as the champion?
I think it's far more realistic than we thought. I think her winning the gauntlet match was a significant moment. Considering, earlier that night, you had Mark Briscoe, a former Ring of Honor world champion, at number 1. You had Bandito, the current Ring of Honor world champion, in there. And the Ring of Honor guys did not walk away with a win there. Athena getting this win, I thought, was such a massive statement for her, that we're finally going to get to see her in a place that she's earned, which I think is why she was so emotional about it. I think we talked last week about how it was a tragedy that she did all this promo for All In and did not have a scheduled match, only for her to be in the gauntlet. Yeah, outrageous. Only for her to be in the gauntlet and to get this moment. You saw how emotional she was. I feel like with this Mercedes Moné challenge behind us, not to say that Mercedes wouldn't go after the title again, but I think Athena is the right person to beat Toni Storm to become the women's world champion. I think Athena needs to take a page out of Naomi's book, because this is, again, akin to the Money in the Bank. You cash it in whenever you so desire. If Christian Cage could cash it in during the middle of a match and turn it into a triple threat, she can do the same. Find a moment when, go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry, just on that. So I think Tony Khan said in the press conference afterwards, like, he's changing that. He said, I'm going to talk to the people that won, Max and Athena, and almost decide when they want to have their match. He said something to that effect. So he's taking away the cash-in element.
Listen, the cash-in element is the element of surprise. The element of surprise works all the time. To turn this into, I'm going to cash it in for 3 weeks from now, doesn't hit the same. It doesn't hit the same. Even with that said, though, I think Athena can totally win the world title. I think she has earned that, to carry that Ring of Honor brand. She's the reason why people tune in and I think have a subscription over there. Outside of Athena, don't know. So Athena deserves the right to walk in there. Thankfully, she doesn't have to go after the TBS title. She can go after the women's world title. And I think she's an extremely viable contender. And I love that Tony Schiavone said that we could live in a world where she's holding both championships. Makes sense to me, because there's nobody in Ring of Honor right now that can see her. Nobody. Which, by the way, let me say one other thing too. All In was very good for Black wrestlers. And I felt some kind of good about that. I remember the early days of AEW, so many conversations on all sorts of platforms talking about how AEW didn't handle black wrestlers well, etc. 2025 All In was very, very good for black wrestlers. And that made me feel very good. There was almost a black wrestler in just about every match, with the exception of the TNT title match and the 2 of the 3 main events. But that said a lot. And in most of those cases, we won. So shout out to AEW for seeing the value in black wrestlers and integrating that such that it doesn't feel like we have to say black wrestler every time. So shout out to AEW.
We have to change the slogan to AEW where blacks wrestle.
I wasn't ready for that.
Where the blacks wrestle.
I was not prepared.
I mean,
man.
I was watching everything kind of on like Sunday evening, Monday morning, trying to stay away from find out results and blah blah blah. And I was so prepared to do a post about the weekend possibly like being the most successful weekend of wrestling for black women, because if Mercedes, we were only 1 win away from it being that, because if Mercedes had won, it definitely would have been that. It definitely would have been that. And that would have been absolutely amazing. Speaking on Athena real quick, Mex talked about the possibility of this whole cash-in thing not being a thing anymore and whatnot. For me, I don't think Athena would need that. I think it's better that Athena can, say, right, Toni Storm, I'm going to face you at so-and-so on this week in 3-4 weeks, whatever it is, and she wins. With MJF, possibly the cash-in thing makes more sense because of the way his character is and all the rest of it. That makes more sense to me. I don't think Athena needs that at all. And again, with Toni Storm coming away with the championship, it gives me more hope that Athena has a chance. On top of all of that, and we're talking about Ring of Honor as well. You mentioned that we saw Bandido. We saw Nick Wayne, who's the television champion. We saw Dustin Rhodes walk away with the TNT championship, even though he's got the ROH tag team and trios championship as well. So, and we see Mercedes with six belts around her. AEW are not scared of putting multiple championships on a person.
Yeah.
So that gives me hope that Athena has a very strong chance of holding both championships. My only question, I was going to say issue, we don't know yet, but my only question would be, I mentioned all the men that are holding Ring of Honor championships, and we see them on our TVs on AEW every single week. Do you think that will change at all for Athena now that she has this contract mix?
I think it's got to. This is AEW's biggest problem. Like, because Mercedes and Tony are just larger than life characters and all of that, and they've been obviously building towards this for quite a while. They haven't developed a main event scene. Look at it on the men's side of things. So Hangman has just won the title. John Moxley is still main event scene. He's the former champion. He can come back anytime he wants. Kenny Omega has lost his titles. He could easily be, another person in the main event scene going up against Hangman, who beat him for the title originally. MJF, number 1 contender. Swerve and Strickland won their match to be able to still compete for the world titles. They've got a stacked scene. In the women's, it is Toni Storm, Mercedes Moné, and Athena, who's obviously just become a number 1 contender. That's it. So they need to build towards the fact that we need more women in and around this. Athena, I think, if she's going to win, I want it in shock fashion, but shock fashion could be like she absolutely mauls Toni Storm, ultra violent, like, and just gets the belt off her, carries these 2 titles. It needs to be a statement, because now to beat Toni Storm has to really be a thing,
right?
Like, because Mercedes has put her on that pedestal ultimately. So to beat Toni Storm really needs to be a celebrated event. and taken seriously. They need to build more into this. Athena now needs to be a regular, even with the ROH belt. She needs to be a regular on AEW TV, so the people can get, familiar, acquainted to her if she is going to challenge or, eventually win that title.
This last thing I want to throw in real quick. Slammiversary is happening this weekend. We're not going to talk about all the things, but one question I'm going to ask you, Gerard. We've got the X Division Championship on the line, Moose versus Leon Slater. It's a case of Moose beating Austin Aries title reign length as X Division champion, or Leon Slater beating Amazing Red's record and becoming the youngest ever X Division champion. Who comes away with the win?
Leon Slater.
Max, I don't know what you're going to say, Leon Slater, because I'm saying Leon Slater too. He's from the UK. He's got to win. Even given the story, even given everything that's going on, it makes complete sense, and I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. There are other things we could talk about, but we'll move away. We've not got time. It's been a bumper
Does
weekend.
Trick retain?
Good question. I think it makes sense that he does, but I don't think it. Yeah, it's hard to predict. I think it makes sense for him to, though. Yeah.
Next,
Tanner is catching fire, and it could be Mike's time. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Joe Hendry. I don't think Joe Hendry wins at all. It's either trick. It's either trick.
I
or
agree with
Santana.
that.
Trick or Santana. Definitely. I think it might even be a TNA farewell for Joe Hendry.
Maybe.
Possible.
Maybe.
Right, guys, time is over. Yeah, let's stop. Oh Lord, as I said, a bumper weekend. Of course, needed a bumper show as well. It's been great talking about everything and getting into all the details and stuff like that. This has been WrstlXtra. You've been watching on the Black Wrestling Alliance YouTube channel. Of course, you can join us every single week, Tuesday, 6 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Work it out wherever you live. If you don't want to do that, you can catch us at whenever you want, because we will still be on demand on YouTube at any given time. Mex, tell the people where else they can find you.
WrestleManiac UK on TikTok, X, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find me on Wrestlings as well. Talking about Leon Slater, he should be on Wrestlings end of the month. Hopefully, he comes with that X Division Championship. So look out for an interview with Leon Slater at the end of July, and gorilla position for all things WWE as well.
Gerard, apart from saying your name, where else can we find you?
You can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X. You can find me in all those spaces. You can check me out with Ashe Wrestling. Of course, Return of the King is available on our YouTube channel. Our next big show is coming up a week from this Saturday, July 26th, for Ashe 10. And several matches have been announced, including, this is going to be crazy, the Pan-African World Championship. Shug D defends against Khan. And wow. So a lot of great matches coming for that. Tickets are available now at AsheWrestling.com. Of course, you can check out my work with Southern Honor Wrestling on IWTV. You can check out my work with the Nightmare Factory as well on their YouTube channel. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. So follow me at Bonnerfied and you can check out whatever I might have missed.
Oh Lord, guys, thank you for joining us. Everyone that's jumped in. Jeffrey Reimer seems to be our fourth presenter, always in the comments. Thank you for joining us, my friend.
Yes.
And guys, we will see you again next time.